If you're fake and tired and you want to ditch the fake in life for good, discover and accept your true self, visit coachingwithdrheidi.com to learn more about my private, exclusive Freedom Me program. Welcome back. This is an It's Not Normal, It's Toxic bonus episode. As many of you know, I launched a second podcast a couple months ago. It's called Fake and Tired. We talk about the toxic personality and getting to understand that at a very deep level on this podcast. Fake and Tired is learning to understand ourselves after those relationships happen to us. We carry a lot of emotional abuse into our future that we may not realize are residual effects from being manipulated and controlled and, under pressure and scared for so long. And I have a co host on that podcast. And that co host is a former client of mine. So, in a couple of the first episodes, we went in depth, and sadly, I surprised her with one of them. And we went through the paperwork that she filled out prior to working with me and an evaluation she filled out after she completed the 5-month Freedom Me program with me. I'm going to put both of these episodes together so that you guys can hear the testimonial of someone who's been right where you are and has gone through my program and has really taken the chance to understand everything she could about it so that along with my mission, she does not have to go through it that I went through it. So I hope you enjoy listening to Christine. She is fabulous. If you haven't listened to Safe and Tired yet, you can check the show notes for the link or search Safe and Tired in. I'm so happy that you're back here today. And it's actually a really good day to be fake and tired. To you who has found yourself in a relationship that is not healthy, who is taking the steps to get out of a relationship that is not healthy, to you who is trying to balance an unhealthy dynamic with parents, siblings, children, friends, or coworkers, or for you who has taken the steps to free yourself, yet find that now, supposedly, normal life is not really feeling that normal either. My life and my work is dedicated to you. Educating you from an experienced perspective with relatable situations so you can understand and move forward is not only what I do for a living, it's my passion. Helping others is what makes my past make sense, and I truly believe it is what I was meant to do. Now, the road that got me here was certainly a rocky one, but I'm here now, and I have learned to appreciate most of the rocks. As you may know, I take only a limited number of private clients every year. In order to be accepted into that exclusive program, there is an application interview. When scheduling an application call, each applicant fills out a questionnaire so that I am able to know a bit about their situation prior to the call. Today, Christine, a fellow faker, and now the co host of this fabulous podcast, and I are going to go through the questionnaire that she filled out the day she scheduled her call with me. Christine, did you know I was going to make you do this?
No, no.
Are you
Scared? Yes, I'm scared. I'll just finish that for you.
why are you why are you scared?
Because I don't remember what I wrote, and I have this sinking feeling that when I look at this, I'm going to be really surprised.
So I did pull a fast one on her. I knew if I told her we were doing this, she would read through her answers and she would change them.
That's correct.
So I told her we were recording and told her to open her email. So I worked with Christine for quite a while, long enough for us to become very good friends and for me to know that her and I can really make an impact on people that have been through this, and we can do it together. So I did pull the fast one on her, told her to open her email, and said, we're recording tonight. So here we go. This is the application, and it's still the actual application that is on the website if you decide to apply. So if you want to cheat, you can listen to this and you'll already know the questions that are going to be asked. So,
If you want to cheat, I'll
Christy,
give you my answers.
yes, yes. So I knew that this was probably going to be a surprise. And I also know that going through this, she's probably going to be a little bit surprised at some of the questions, some of the answers that she wrote, because she has put a ton of work in and her life is completely different now. So I have a feeling that her going back and reading what she wrote when she applied to work with me may get some reaction out of her. So we'll just
I feel
see
like
what happens.
this feels like a really bad surprise party's about ready to happen.
Do you need to take a potty break or
No,
make
no,
a
no, no, no.
coffee?
I'm good. No, I just want to blow right through this.
Okay. So go ahead and open your email. And I sent
Okay.
you the questionnaire.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
The first there's a couple identifying questions on the questionnaire, like name, locate, email address, all that as usual.
Mm-hmm.
But first and most importantly, how did you find out about me and my services?
Okay, my answer is Spotify, but I can elaborate on that a little bit. So I wanted to jump on the treadmill and get some exercise in, and I thought I'm going to put some sort of podcast on, and so I searched.
If I'm going to torture myself, I'm going to do it on the treadmill listening to Dr. Heidi.
Well, and I didn't even know it was going to be you because I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I want something entertaining. I need to pass the time. I want to do this for, 30 minutes, right? So I type in the search bar, I type in toxic relationships, having felt like I just came out of one. So when I did type that in, you popped up. It's not normal, it's toxic. And I scrolled through a few episodes, again, making a quick decision, and I found one about something like toxic people at the holidays. And I started playing it and I started walking on the treadmill, a quick pace. And then after I got a little bit into it, I just about fell off the treadmill. I couldn't believe how spot on that was with what my experience was. And so then I just kept listening to podcast after podcast, and I probably walked for 3 hours that night. It was incredible.
So, lesson learned here is if you need to exercise, you listen to Dr. Heidi, right?
That's right. I would have
Really
never
quick,
walked that long.
yeah, I have actually done that
Mm-hmm.
also. And I use the treadmill as an example a lot of the times for the toxic relationship. Like, we work so hard, and then where are you when you get done working so hard? Oh, you're in the same freaking place, right?
Right.
Also, I have to tell you guys, you're going to have to just forgive the dogs barking in the background, because I put Christine on the spot today to record this. So we had to push her puppies into a different room, and they want to be on the podcast too. So,
Yeah.
yes.
That's
So
a
we
future
can hear
podcast.
them, you can hear them, and that's totally fine. Okay. As many of us have, there was more than one type of toxic relationship in your life. This is actually the next question on the questionnaire. The type of the relationship.
So the type was spouse/intimate partner, former partner, co-parent.
Okay, and how long were each of those relationships?
Let's see. That would have been, in total, probably a 10-year and a 15-year-ish relationship.
Okay, so she's very similar to me. We have over a quarter of a decade that we now know, sadly, was in relationships or in environments that probably were not the best for us to be in. Next question was, are you 100% sure that you're ready to make a change?
Are you 100? Hang on, let me find that question. I'm very, very ready. I'm ready, but then doubting my decision. That's
Okay.
what it actually says.
Okay, and I have
And
to tell
I
you,
wrote this? You said I wrote this, right? This is mine.
that one might have been a multiple choice, but I will tell you that is 95% of the reasons that almost everyone says, but then I feel like I'm sure, but then I doubt myself. So I don't even know that I read the responses on that particular question because
Ah, I see.
all of them say I'm ready and doubt myself. Okay, tell me a little bit about what your situation looks like presently.
Okay,
Now
my
again,
answer
to the listeners, remember, we're going through her intake questionnaire. So when I say presently, that's not now, that's the question presently
at the
when she
time.
filled out.
Right. So let's see. It says, after I broke up with my partner, he has not contacted me at all. I'm left with zero closure and I'm really searching to understand the why of the relationship. Why did he treat me like I was invisible, didn't matter, etc.? And why did I tolerate it? I know I can never go back to him, but my doubt comes from doubt in myself not to repeat this pattern. Wow. Okay. I had taken him back after some pretty rotten things, one being an affair. My professional life is good with boundaries, but why is my personal life not the same? His mother and sisters and family still talk to me periodically, and they told me I should leave him. They told me they hope I never take him back, which is telling. Wow, this is like a flash from the past right now. I
Are you
can't
doing
believe I wrote
okay?
that. Oh, yeah, yeah, let's go. Let's keep going.
What is going well for you right now?
Wow, this is a good one too. You're sure this is mine? Okay, here we go. I feel a sense
It
of
says,
calmness.
it says
My
Christine,
name is on
fellow
this. It has
faker.
to be me. It's me. It's me. I feel a sense of calmness without the chaos in my life.
That was all that was going well.
Yeah, apparently that was it. That's all I had.
Okay, I did not print out her thing because I didn't want to be reading
Yeah,
when
that was
she
a
was reading.
one-liner. I feel a sense of
Okay.
calmness without the chaos in my life.
And you know what? I'm just going to say something here. Told Christine I'm not going to interrupt me doing the application, but isn't it funny how we focus on the negative? What's going well for you right now? And we can list one thing. But if I would have said, what's going bad for you right now? We would be here for an hour and a half today reading her
That's
thing.
true.
So that's
So
just a
true.
little segue. Okay. What is your biggest struggle right now? Was the next question on the intake questionnaire.
Wow, this is, I just read ahead a little bit. I'm still sad and I'm going through some other life changes as my children are starting their own lives. One of my kids is moving in a couple weeks and I'm trying to figure out what I'm sad about and how to have good boundaries going forward in the next relationship. Fear of being alone and never finding anyone is also troubling to me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I wrote that. That last part, oh my gosh, I can't believe I wrote that, wasn't in it. Oh,
What part can't you?
fear of being alone? I love being alone. I
You
must not
didn't
have
know,
loved it then. I didn't know how
right?
much I loved being alone.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the number one thing holding you back right now?
Okay, my answer is understanding the why and having insecurity slash fear of the future personal slash intimate relationships.
Okay, that was a multiple choice on the
Oh, is that
questionnaire.
why it's split up that way?
Yeah. So I'll ask the question again and then just read between the backslashes. Okay. So
Okay.
what is the number one thing holding you back?
Understanding the why and having insecurity and then fear of future personal intimate relationships.
Okay. Because a lot of times when I ask people what's holding you back, you can't word it. So that one on the application is a multiple choice, and they're choices that I know I felt and they're choices that I know most of my people felt. So it's no wonder that you didn't actually know how to read that. Have you seen a cycle within the relationship? And if you did, if so, please describe.
In this last relationship, I have been here before. He had left me before, although he maintains he never left me, and I definitely saw the same cycle with him. I also went through a similar feeling of abandonment with my former husband. In both cases, I left these men, so I knew what I had to do and I did it, but I feel like there are lasting effects of this that still impact my life.
Were you right?
Yes, I was right.
Okay, what other things have kept you from moving forward?
I said, yes, there were other things, fear and insecurity. And then, okay, I see it. So some of the other things were extended family and friends, being alone, feeling rejected. Maybe I should try harder. Maybe it's not that bad. Fear. What if they are happy? This must have been another multiple choice.
It was. It was. It's very hard for it's very hard for people to pinpoint what exactly their fears are.
Okay, so those are
But
all the
when
things I picked.
okay. The next question was what are your goals should you be accepted into the program?
My goal is to be okay alone, not to let myself get sad or depressed to the point where it affects my life. Learn what to look for in a partner going forward and what red flags there may be. Contentment.
Good answer.
That was a great
Have you
answer.
used yeah, and
Wow. Okay.
okay. I keep wanting to interject because I know what she is now, but I promised her I wouldn't, so I have to finish
Right
that.
now, I'm shocked. That's what I am right now. Shocked
By
at
your
these
answers?
answers. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay, the next question is have you used other avenues or services in the past to try and achieve these goals, and did you feel that they worked well for the situation that you were in?
So I have been to many therapists in the past, but I have not felt like I really learned the tools to make my goal a reality. I still feel like an insecure kid inside, like I'm not good enough and that is why they treated me this way kind of thing. So that's a very telling statement. I think it's probably a common thought for people, but I can't believe I wrote that now.
So then why did you choose my program?
So your story resonated with me in my experience with my former relationships. The What to Expect at the Holidays podcast was so spot on. My former partner would just leave, be unreachable, ghost me, withdraw to punish, and I think you experienced that too and have it figured out.
So
So
what would it mean
basically,
to you?
I wanted what you had.
Are you sure? You know me better now. Are you sure you want what I have?
I'll have what she's having.
So, what would it mean to you if you were able to reach those goals?
Let's see. Well, I'll tell you what it would mean to me. At the time, that would mean everything to me. I love therapy and coaching and any exercises to improve my mental health. Logically, I know I am a great person, wonderful girlfriend, etc. But emotionally, I struggle with seeing my worth because of the treatment I've received in the past. I need these people out of my life and I need good boundaries to keep them out. I also want to set a good example for my children in their relationships.
And is there anything else you want to add?
Just that I am eager for improvement and understanding. I'm happy that I'm giving and caring person, but is that hurting me in the bigger scheme of things? That was the question.
Okay, now, clearly, as you know, she was accepted into the Freedom Me exclusive client program. And you can't see her face right now. I can see her face. And as she's reading these, I did this to her on purpose. I won't do this to somebody I don't know as well as her, but I did this to her on purpose because I knew if there was going to be one thing that showed her the difference between who she was before she worked with me and after, and I'm not promoting my work. I'm just saying she knows after reading those answers, she is a different person. So Christine, from your perspective, now looking back on the answers to those questions and knowing where you are now, how does it feel to reread those?
It is absolutely kind of an out of mind experience. As if I'm looking at this, my name's on it. I know I wrote it because clearly I wrote it, but I can't believe who I was when I wrote that. So you said you're not promoting your services. I'm promoting your services because that was like the questionnaire alone is a person I don't even know.
Well, when I hear her read those, that is now a person that I don't even know. And when I say I'm not promoting my services, obviously it's what I do for a living. But the goal of this, even though some of the questions read like buy my shit, that's not the point of this. The point of this is one, I kind of wanted to see her reaction, which wasn't super fair to her because she didn't know. But unless we get hit in the face with how far we've come, we tend to stay on the same treadmill that we were talking about. Now, Christine and I spent the next 5 months digging up the reality of what was really going on in those two relationships that she filled out the questionnaire about. And Christine, you were a fast learner. You were you were already no contact, so that helped. And some people aren't that far when they meet me, but that was an advantage for you. You were very eager for the information, and you were able to see where and when it applied to situations you had experienced. So she was already in a place where, if you've listened to my other podcast, she was at the half past quarter till I don't give a crap. I have got to do something, and if I don't do something, I don't know what I'm going to do. So she was I'm not going to say rock bottom, but everybody's rock bottom is different, right? But I have to say, we worked together for 5 months, and I could see a lot of growth. She would have wins she'd text me about, she'd have questions, she'd have ups and downs as we went through this. But as we approached the end of our time working together, I could sense that you didn't understand how much work you had done. Now, you told me earlier we had a 10-year and about a 15-year relationship. Okay, so 25 years. You and I spent 5 months together. Now, I don't fix anything. I just give you a different perspective. But I could see how you were just eating this information up. But I would tell you how proud of you I was, and I would tell you that all the time. And in true faker fashion, you would say, "Yeah, but..." And then you would follow it up with something that you were not proud of at all, which totally deflected the compliment of how proud I was.
Yeah, I'm still working on that.
I needed to find a way to make you see the changes that I had seen in you. And so I gave you
Well, this was a pretty good way, Heidi. It was a good way to do that. I see him now.
No, I'm not talking about this. I gave you an assignment towards the end of our working together.
No.
And
I feel like this is an episode of This Is Your Life, and you're going to open some curtain somewhere, and I'm going to be shocked again.
She was the freaking homework valedictorian, okay? I have never had a client do homework the way she did. Now, I am not technical. I say that all the time. That's why dogs bark on the podcast, and I just let it go. I would get these forms that I would throw together in bad formats and send them to her. And what I would get back in her homework would be color-coded, animated PDFs that like danced around my screen. And I'm like, and she put a lot of work into her homework. She took every assignment that I gave her very seriously. But the day I gave her this assignment, she said, "Do I seriously have to do that?"
Do I seriously have to do this?
Yes. Well, you don't have to do anything. So,
okay, I'm ready.
The last assignment that I gave her was, in order for her to see all the work that she'd done, is I didn't make her, I suggested that she write a love letter to herself. And she did go, "I don't know if I can do that," which is the same response I get a lot of the times when I ask people what makes them happy. They can't think of anything because we don't look at ourselves in a way that we look at other people when we've come out of relationships like that. But do you remember when I gave you that assignment?
I do. I remember that feeling of, I gotta write what? I don't know.
Okay, well, the homework valedictorian came through, and within a few days I found...
Are you nervous right now? Because I'm nervous.
I'm not nervous.
So you're not sweating?
Are you sweating? Do you have a feeling that... I don't know what's going to come
out of your mouth. I don't remember this.
Well, in a few days, I found something in my email, and I believe that at the time I read it, it gave me tears. So, Christine, if you don't mind, I would like your permission to read the love letter to yourself, to the listeners. Do you remember it?
No, go ahead.
Is it okay for me to read it?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, me just getting permission is already getting my eyes watery. So, for the listeners...
It's already giving me anxiety, so this is good. Good combination.
For the listeners who are used to me crying a lot, I am an empath that used to have zero emotion, and now I'm emotional about everything. You can always hear it in my voice when I have tears. So here we go. I'm going to try to get through the letter that she wrote to herself. If there's pauses, it's because it doesn't make me cry because I did this for her. It makes me cry because I see the transition that she's gone through, and it's amazing. The letter reads, Dear Queen, I am writing you this letter to remind you that you're an amazing individual. I know that you've been through a lot, but I'm proud that you have taken the bull by the horns, faced the unhealthy elements of your life and those contributing to that negativity head on, challenged yourself, and you have come out ahead. I admire the fact that you have learned to value yourself. My favorite quality about you right now is your ability to see through toxic behavior. See it for what it really is and discern who should be fortunate enough to receive grace and understanding from you. But more importantly, who should not. You have come so far, and I want you to remember to celebrate it. Don't forget, you are capable of setting boundaries, valuing yourself first, and protecting your fishbowl. And you can reach anything that you set your mind to. Your mistakes do not define you. All you can do is learn from them and move forward. My goal for you right now is to continue to see yourself as a priority and keep healthy boundaries in future relationships, whether those relationships are intimate partners, work colleagues, families, friends, etc. Something that makes me laugh when I think about it is how utterly formulaic the toxic personality is. In the most basic and obvious ways. What a concept. Why don't they teach that in school? Everyone should have Dr. Heidi's flowchart, and it should be a prerequisite to run people through that flowchart before you ever allow them in your life or in your circle. Always remember that you are not obligated to do, starting over, always remember that you are not obligated to do anything that is not hell yes for you. Any hesitation should be listened to and respected. You are justified in making your own choices for the future. Remember to love yourself first and know your value. You are so beautiful, sexy, talented, and truly unique, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Don't ever give up on yourself or your dreams. Written with love from yourself, Queenie Christini.
Are you okay?
Okay, listeners, I'm bawling my eyes out, and she's laughing at me, and she's the one that wrote the letter.
I can't believe I said Queenie. That's so cute.
So how do you feel after listening to the love letter to yourself as opposed to the answers that you filled out in the questionnaire at the beginning?
Wow, it's quite a turnaround. I mean, the intake questionnaire was a whole different, it almost felt like a cloud. Are you going to be okay? Are you still wiping your tears?
I'm good.
Are you
I
good?
cry about
Okay.
everything.
Okay,
I used to
okay.
never cry. Now I can't
Okay.
get through a Hallmark commercial.
Yeah, so the intake questionnaire was more like this dark cloud that I was just kind of trying to put my finger on what was going on. And then that letter, which I hadn't read since I wrote it, I might not have ever read it to myself. It says things that even remind me today, that I shouldn't forget, how to look at red flags, that I shouldn't forget how to decide who you let in, hold your boundaries, whether it, like you were saying in that letter, whether it's work or personal or family or whatever.
I wasn't saying that in the letter. That was your
right.
letter.
I was saying it. That's right. That's such a different outlook. That letter is so drastically different than the mindset I was in when I had the intake questionnaire completed.
And a little empowering, isn't it?
Very empowering. First, I'm thinking, that's a great letter. That was the first thing I thought, wow.
It is a great letter.
Yeah.
And actually, you don't know this, but I have that letter pinned up on my wall.
Do you? I don't have that letter pinned up on my wall.
Yes, I think,
Maybe
however,
I should.
Well, I believe that I said print it out and read it every day.
Maybe I didn't do that homework.
But that part of the homework didn't involve technology, so she didn't do it. So that being said, okay, You and I struggled through this conversation, and I knew that we would. So, apologies to the listeners if we fumble around a little bit, but the impact of what I'm trying to show you here is she didn't know she could do this. She didn't think she could do this. She didn't even to this day realize she did it until I called her back onto the application and the letter. Because we don't celebrate our wins. We don't celebrate our accomplishments. We just move from one day to the next because that's what we've always done. So, Christine, what would you tell the person that is listening right now that is stuck in an unhealthy relationship?
So that question brings to mind something I actually told somebody once, and it was somebody in a relationship that was not optimal. And you know that when you're in those things, it's so hard to envision getting out of them. But what I told this person was, when we're in it, our mind only lets us think about what we might lose when we get out of it. We don't typically think, about what we'll gain by moving on. And if I knew then what I know now, I would have left so much sooner, because the other side is peaceful, it's calm and happy, it's invigorating. I wish I hadn't waited so long to start my life. And I'd tell somebody, you can do this and you should.
And I believe that I actually stole those words and have repeated those. Not everything I say that sounds really, really intelligent is my words. Sometimes I steal things from other people. Now, as you'll know, this podcast is not so much about being in a toxic relationship. My podcasts are going to people are going to be able to jump back and forth between the two of them. This podcast is designed for the residual effects, the things that you find out about yourself afterwards. And with that, Christine, you have also felt the residual effects of living in survival mode. So, what would you tell a listener who is stuck with that internal wreckage from a toxic relationship of the past?
Well, the first thing I'd tell them is to figure out how to be a private coaching client of yours. I know I'm not, that's the truth. In the first 3 hours with you, it was just life-changing. I can't even stress it enough. And I was surprised. I did not have the expectation that it would be life-changing.
What do you think was life-changing? What was the difference between the validation session, which was the 3-hour session that you did with me, and other stuff, books you've read or anything else you've tried? What was it that made you go, "Oh my gosh"?
So for me, and this might be my personality, but it was having a set of rules or a formula to apply to a situation, so I could objectively say, oh, okay, here's the rule. How does it apply to this situation? Here's the formula. Put it over the top of this situation. And it explained it. It made sense of the situation.
And we will get into this later, and I cover it vastly over and over in the other podcast. It's Not Normal, It's Toxic is the other podcast. I taught you to take the emotion out of the observation and the decision making. Because we're emotional. Anybody who's listening to Dr. Heidi that likes her is emotional. Anybody listening to Dr. Heidi that doesn't like her is listening because they're the toxic person in some relationship. I'm joking, but most of the people that are
on a treadmill and listening to a podcast about toxic relationships to pass the time and almost falls off the treadmill in disbelief that this really happens, that's telling.
Yeah. And actually on It's Not Normal, It's Toxic right now, I took a sabbatical from all my work and the other podcast for about 6 months, but I just relaunched that, and I'm going through some of those through some of those playbook things, because the toxic personality, surprisingly, is very predictable. A lot of them act exactly the same. And so once you learn that, and I think that's what you're talking about, when you felt like I was watching your life, I think is how you described it. You're like, oh my gosh, how does she know that this is exactly what was happening in my relationship?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for being so vulnerable and for sharing. I cornered you. I know I did. I would not do that with someone who I didn't know very well and who didn't already know she was going to be able to redeem herself in future episodes. But
It's okay. You'll make it up to me. I know. I know you
right,
will.
but I do believe that you understand what I was doing with making you read the questions that you answered first and then the love letter, and now thinking where you are now, you're like, it's the transition and the transformation that I wanted to depict through this episode.
Yeah. I think that you achieved that because it is such a surprise to read those words.
And I do believe that the growth that was shown in the short time that we spent together between our first meeting, which was the application that we went through, and your love letter is going to be very encouraging to those who are listening that feel like they don't have an option or there's no way out, or even if they're already out, don't have a way to move forward. So, Christine, why don't you give us the sign off for today's episode?
I'd say, you've tried a lot of different things, and we've all tried kind of the same things with therapy books, self-help, all of those things. And and this approach was just so different for me that it was something I never thought I'd try. Never in a million years would I think I would try this. So the fact that one, go out on a limb and see if trying something different works for you and just do it.
And with that said, the follow up episode is going to be a little bit more about Christine. She is
It
very
is
aware
it?
of, well, I was just going to say, you're very aware of the next episode. We discussed it.
Okay, okay, okay.
And I have to apologize publicly for doing that to you, but I knew if you knew what I was doing, we wouldn't have the same impact on people. So I
No, that's
truly
probably true.
appreciate it. And I also know that people are going to get to know you very well and they're going to get to appreciate you the same way that people appreciate the fact that, not necessarily appreciate me, just appreciate the fact that others have gone through it. And I think you and I are still walking the path and falling down every other day. And
Yeah, I
when
think
when we
it's
decided to do this podcast, it was so people could see us falling down right in front of them,
hmm
because it's I think that sometimes the residual after the trying to understand the survival mode, or the stress responses that stick around, it's almost as isolating as the actual relationships.
Yep, I'd agree.
So stay tuned because Christine and I will be back very shortly. When laying out the plan to move my business forward into the healing realm of the journey, I sent surveys out to many of my former clients. I didn't receive very many of them back, but that was okay, as my goal of the survey was one, to get some feedback on me as a supporter, and two, to make certain that I got the sense that clients felt that they indeed benefited in their goals for healing. As you may have guessed, Christine, my little homework valedictorian, was the first to send hers back. And since we followed part of her journey in the last episode, I saw it only fitting to spotlight her yet again. Christine, this survey was done some time ago, and I know for a fact that you have already grown even more since then. So, as I ask these questions, feel free to add to the answers that you actually put down when I sent the survey out, if something has changed. Okay, so it's kind of a surprise like the last episode. However, she was aware we were doing this. I don't think this one will be as surprising to her as the last one, but we're just going to take our time and go through these. For the listeners, we did in the previous episode the questionnaire that she filled out prior to being accepted into Freedom Me, my exclusive private program, and she was very surprised at some of her answers. This is the survey that was sent to her long after she had completed working with me. So, Christine, when you first talked to me, which was the application call, what was your outlook on your future? How were you feeling the day before we spoke?
So I knew my future would ultimately be okay. I knew that things would work out. However, I knew without an objective assessment from a neutral third party like you, like Dr. It may take the rest of my life to feel secure, confident, and validated. I didn't have that long to wait. I knew I had to do something. So the day before we spoke, I was feeling nervous, hoping that Dr. Heidi would accept me as a client and hopeful about what life would be like after Dr. Heidi worked with me.
So, how were you feeling about things right after our first call?
So I was feeling so validated after our first call. My situation that I had been in had become my new normal. I always say it was like being frog being boiled. You know, you're not knowing you're almost gone until it's too late. Hearing you stop me mid-story during my interview and telling me immediately that you wanted to work with me was extremely validating and comforting. It proved to me that the situation that I had endured over the years really was dysfunctional and not acceptable.
What was the next thing? What was the thing that made you commit to being an exclusive client of?
So for me, I knew I had to change what I thought was acceptable treatment from a partner. I also had to dig deeper and figure out what inside me was still holding on. Was it hope for change? Was it history? Why? One thought I had was, this is starting to be embarrassing. What am I teaching my kids? I'm put together in my work life at home. Why not with this? My commitment was very strong and it was really enjoyable because I think I was ready.
What was something that I shared with you that came as a surprise to you?
This one was the flow chart of the toxic personality and how they all act the same way.
Christine loved the flow chart.
I love that flow chart. I love it. Dr. Heidi,
She
I
re-
love the flow chart.
She refers to the flow chart. I developed a flow chart to explain the toxic personality so that you can observe their behavior and validate yourself as you go through it. And Christine was one of the ones that really felt that the flow chart helped her. And that's something that you can get through a validation session or through working with me. The next question was, what is something you gained from working together that you feel will be valuable to you for the rest of your life and why?
So my answer was the awareness that there are so many people out there who endure traumatic and unacceptable behaviors from partners, far worse than what I've endured, yet the impact is real and can't be compared to others. Each person, including me, has to find their inner strength, and Dr. Heidi helped me define who I am and find my strength. And last but not least, I have made a lifelong friend in Dr. Heidi.
That is true. And now we
It
get
is
to do
true.
this
I know.
together. Did you find the confusion clearing as we moved forward in the program? And if you can give an example of how.
So I started with the 3-hour validation session, and that was critical for me. It gave me a foundation on which to base my any interaction I had with any person. If it didn't feel right or smell right, I could run it through the flow chart, because that was always a big thing you taught me. Run that through the flow chart, and what do you see? So I could run it through the flow chart and I could name it. That awareness allowed me to think about a situation very objectively instead of emotionally. So basically, I have this set of rules in this flow chart, and I start here and I end here, and then I learn something. So that was huge for me. And then the neuropathway discussions helped me tremendously. The templates we create in our brains and why we create them was fascinating.
Did you find that a decision came out of our work together? And do you believe that it was the best decision for you?
Yes. So I guess I'd say I was in a good position coming into this work because I had already, had no contact, broken ties. So that allowed me to focus on me instead of spending my time with you focusing on how to break contact. So what happened as a result of my work with Dr. Heidi was that I solidified my position without my formers in my life. So there was no noise. I knew that no contact was the right thing to do now and in the future. And I also gained the strength to not respond to the attempts to communicate with me. That was huge for me because previously I would always respond, foolishly thinking that I could reason with someone or come to an understanding. And so that part was very freeing for me.
That is freeing, and it's one of those things that you don't really feel like you have permission to just go no contact. And then when you finally do, almost everybody wishes that they would have done it sooner. Did the confidence you had in yourself change through the months we had our scheduled sessions?
So my confidence changed, definitely. I'm a very literal person. I work in a field where I have a lot of technical interpretation. And this coaching with you gave me a formula to apply to others and gave me definitive goals for myself. So it defined who I am and it put words to the person, me, my goals, words that resonated with me, my priorities were defined. The scheduled sessions minimized my confusion about me, about my past, about my relationships. I could tell Dr. Heidi how I was feeling, and she could tell me why. So that was impactful and incredible for me.
Now, were there times as we were working together that you thought I would be upset or disappointed in you?
So this is one of my favorite questions because you were so good at this. You always made me feel accepted. So I never once thought that, Dr. Heidi would be upset or disappointed in me. And you actually went out of your way to 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 reassure me of that. Hey, you can do whatever you want and I'm still going to be here for you. So not once did I ever think you would be upset or disappointed. I think you were just so good at preemptively and proactively telling me that you would never be disappointed that I just believed it from the beginning.
The reason I put that question in there is we feel like we disappoint so many people over and over and over. And so I want to make sure that I'm just not another one that people feel like, "Oh my gosh, she told me to do this and I did something different and now she's going to be mad." So that is a huge valuable question for me to know that I have succeeded in making you feel accepted no matter what choices or how many times you have to touch the hot burner before you realize, "Ooh, that's hot."
Yeah. No, you did an amazing job at that.
Have you found some peace? And if you have, what does it look like? What does it feel like? How could someone from the outside recognize that you have more peace in your life?
So my answer in this evaluation was I found peace, confidence, and vision. The big indicator that I have peace and balance was the wagon wheel exercise that we did. I first did this exercise and a very unbalanced wheel resulted. It wasn't going to roll anywhere because, the idea is that you actually have a wheel and it's shaped like a circle, so it rolls forward. And mine was shaped like something that was not going to move anywhere. The second time I did it, because we repeated that exercise after, I don't know, a few months maybe, I had scores in my wagon wheel that proved that I was not just faking it, that I really had made progress and impacted areas of my life that I set out to impact. Because it really did, it identified, here's where I'm kind of falling short in these areas. And I need to maybe not try as hard in the ones I'm scoring really high in and put a little more effort into the ones I'm falling short in and have more of a balanced wheel.
Mhm. And we could talk about that wheel more. I redo the wheel myself between Christmas and New Year's every year. So my newly done wheel is actually sitting right next to me and I have to do the next steps on it. But that wheel does make a huge impact because it's a visualized, it's visual so you can see it. Now, as I have always said, if something is frightening, just have a plan. Then all you have to do is follow the plan. What is your plan for yourself moving forward, knowing that your personality is one that will attract other ones that are just like the ones that you've worked so hard to get away from?
So this was a very necessary realization for me and a very difficult one. We tend to revert back to our behaviors and patterns, and my biggest takeaway on this is to trust my gut. So my gut is correct. When we are in it, our mind only lets us think about what we might lose if we get out of it. We don't typically think about what we will gain by moving on. If I knew then what I know now, I would have left so much sooner because the other side is peaceful and calm and happy and invigorating. And I wish I hadn't waited so long to start my life. We can all do this and we should.
I've actually really used that part of your survey. I might have even mentioned it on a podcast, but I've used it with clients. We only look at what we're going to lose if we change something. And it takes the change to make you realize that not everything is a loss. A lot becomes gained from making changes. How would you describe the way that I teach or guide to someone who has never met me?
Dr. Heidi takes an abstract and emotional mindset and feeling and applies a formula to it. It allows clients to take the emotions out of situations and apply a very objective set of rules to decipher what is really going on as opposed to what the toxic person wants us to think is going on.
Yes, and because we have this podcast, our mind still tends to allow us to think something is going on when something really might not be going on. And so when she
Exactly.
says the way I teach helps you take the emotion out of it, I've had a couple times over the last 2 weeks over the holidays where I wish I was better at taking the emotion out of things because, the holidays they can be triggering for lack of a better word. And to be able to take the emotion out really helps in the future residual survival reactions that we have. Did you ever find it hard to trust me? And did you believe what I was teaching? Did you feel like your safety was always my priority?
So I think in one of the previous episodes, we talked about how I found you and that, I was on the treadmill and when I listened to one of your podcasts, I just about fell off the treadmill because I was so shocked at how applicable it was to my life. So I had listened to your podcast before I reached out. I binged all of them. And then, so I kind of already felt like I knew how open you were and how real you were. Safety was always the number one priority. I never doubted that. That was, it was safety first. My situation was fairly safe. So, but I always knew that that's how you felt.
What is the number one thing that helped you the most during the short time we spent together?
I keep going back to the basis of the toxic personality, the flowchart. Also, the revelation, this was great, was that I don't choose them. They find me. That was a light bulb moment for me.
What was the very best thing about working with me?
Getting my life back, being a good example for my kids, having no contact, blocking people that I didn't need to have contact with anymore. I don't think I would have had the strength to do that. You helped me find myself, and in the process, I made a friend in you. And although we are geographically apart, I consider you my friend for life.
Yes, I very much agree. And I have stayed in contact with many, many of my former clients. How likely are you to recommend the exclusive Freedom Me program to another who might be walking a similar path?
100% likely. The program is essential. The approach, the curriculum, the support, all indicators of success. People need to hear this. They need to listen to the podcast, but the coaching program solidifies everything and gives you the one-to-one attention to combat all the insecurities that will inevitably creep up on us and potentially derail our progress.
Yes, if I could tell people how many times I've been derailed, sometimes it's a big derail, sometimes it's a smaller derail. Sometimes I wish it was just a big derail, all the way derailed, because we tend to get very tired when we're dealing with the residual effects because we just want to be back to normal. And sometimes the derailing gets very monotonous. But that's what Fake and Tired is all about. So now here we are. And we're on to a new set of much needed skills. Skills that were adopted when we were in unhealthy environments, but are no longer what is best for us. Do you know type of things that I'm talking about, Christine?
Yep, I do.
When did you realize that although you were out of things, there were times when things still felt really difficult?
I'd say, probably right away, because as things happen in life, you kind of, like I said, in I think one of my answers, you revert back to, I guess, what was comfortable in terms of, where our mind goes to make sense of something. So in that way, it could happen at any time.
I think our mind goes certain places because it knows how to handle certain situations and is not sure how to handle other ones.
Hmm.
So the brain is a big deal, and it can trick us into believing something is happening when it's not. Do you remember, just for an instance or for an example of, what made you feel like, why am I even trying?
I
Like,
had a
can you think of an
few.
example where you felt like, "Oh my gosh, why am I thinking this? Why am I overreacting? Why am I overthinking? Why am I overworrying? Why do I wanna crawl in a hole?" Those type of things. Do you remember an instance when anything like that happened? After you did all
After
this
our program.
self-discovery and we were all excited about the new life, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, one day you were like, "Oh."
Yeah, I probably remember a few things like that. To keep it general, I'd say that if I put a lot of effort into something and I felt like the reaction wasn't commensurate with the effort, then I was like, why do
Mhm.
but
And
that
and
happened quite a bit, various relationships and friendships and things like that. So I could tell that I would go down that path, but the way I would correct it was to say to myself, no, I did this for me, not for someone else or for someone else's reaction.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, when we are in unhealthy situations, we seek approval because that feels good.
Right.
Everyone says they're on the treadmill. It doesn't matter what they do, it's never right. So we're continually overdoing and, overperforming in hoping that someone will accept us. And that works okay within a toxic relationship. And when you get out, unless we change our expectations, we're going to continually still feel like we're unaccepted. And that's just one example. You sent me an email with a few things that you noticed about the way you responded and reacted and thoughts that you had when you were like thrown into just regular life situations. And I'm just going to read that list.
Okay.
Not really being able to be your true self when other people were around, not expressing how you really feel for fear of how other people would react or how other people would take you, not allowing too much happiness, or not allowing yourself to be upset
Well, I'm good at
for
that. I'm good at that one.
yes,
Not
we're
allowing
never
yourself to be upset. Just sweep that under the rug.
yes, no negative emotions, because if you think back when you're in those type of situations, you're not allowed to be mad, you're not allowed to cry, you're not allowed to be sad. So we get very programmed with we have to pretend we're positive and happy all the time.
Mhm.
And we don't want ourselves to feel happiness because it never really lasted very long. So we're very gun shy of indulging in a happy moment. Found that you were pulling the "I have to be perfect" card a lot in all the different areas, worrying that you would mess up, not asking for help when you knew you could use it, staying very superficial in conversations and in relationships, not allowing yourself to let anything that would make you vulnerable out. And those are all of the things that we want to talk about on this podcast moving forward because we're doing all that all of the time. It's no wonder we're fake and tired. Now, unlike me, you saw these behaviors very soon after we worked together. And maybe that's because we had spoke about what you were going to expect, but even still, these engraved safety reflexes were very present when danger no longer was.
Mhm.
And you would pinpoint that. And usually what we do is we come down on ourselves because now we should be acting normal. How come we can't function? We're out of that. They're gone. They're in the past. We're on to a new relationship or we're on to new friendships or we're on to this new chapter in our life. And it can become very defeating for ourselves to now not know really how to function in a normal, let's just say, relationship.
Mhm.
Now, because we have both learned that we can't fight these things. Believe me, I've been fighting them for several years, thinking that I could fix it. We can't hide them because we try to hide them, and guess what's going to pop out when we least need it to or when we least expect it? It's going to be one of those reactions that make us not understandable to people. People didn't understand our situations when we were in it, and when you carry the residual effects and the survival mode behavior, people don't understand that either. I say we can't hide them and we can't fix them, but understanding where they came from has helped me accept the fact that they are part of me. And with that, they're still going to pop up. I mean, I used to just beat myself up when one of my survival mechanisms would kick in because it would be humiliating. And now I just know we have to be able to go, well, that happened. I'll try to stop it or have a plan for that the next time. Up till the day I asked Christine to be the co-host and threw that idea at her, we would talk about once a month. And every time I would have some story because I knew would understand if I was dealing with some of this residual effect or if I was worried about something or if I was all wound up inside over absolutely nothing. You can tell yourself it's nothing, but then you find yourself worrying about it for the next 48 hours. But every time I had a story to tell her, she would have one to tell me back. And many times it was about the same reaction. So we understand it and we can laugh at ourselves, we can support each other, but the people that are closest to us don't understand it. And they don't always laugh at our behaviors because sometimes our behaviors can be hurtful to the people around us. But when we can share this humiliation or these embarrassing moments or these stressful, how do I handle this? When we could share it with each other, it seemed like the load would get way lighter. Because the minute I would hear that you, Christine, were having the same type of thing, it made me feel not so alone. And,
Mhm.
this podcast is is for the people who are feeling like that. You're not the only one that is feeling fake and tired. There are so many people that are experiencing the same thing. And the mission of this podcast is the same mission that Coaching with Dr. Heidi has stood behind for nearly a decade. And that's to bring hope, healing, and freedom to those whose lives have been affected by toxic relationships and emotional abuse, both in and beyond the relationship. If you are exhausted from the life the toxic relationship has handed you, join us here where we are going to discuss the things that have been making you so fake and tired. Now, on the next episodes that'll be following this one, Christina and I are going to be focusing on these individual behaviors that rear their ugly little heads when we least expect it. And as it will be confirmed in season 2, these are very common behaviors across the board for those who have been in controlling, dangerous, and manipulative environments. Now, before we go, we decided that as you get to know us, we don't know everything about each other, and we definitely don't know everything about everything. So in each episode, we want to be able to add a little tidbit of information just for fun. So it's time for our first Did You Fake and Know? Christine, did you fake and know that the song Vindicated by Dashboard Confessions was popular around the time that I left my former? Now I have 2 house cats, one named Vindy and the other named Kate, in honor of my intuition being correct from the beginning and being vindicated in what I felt had been going on all along.
I did not know that that's why you named them Vindy and Kate. That's a good one.
Yes.
That's a really
I
good one.
wanted to get a third one and name it Ed so I could have Vindicate Ed, but my husband said I could only have 2 in the house. So Ed lives in the barn and monitors the mice.
I love it. I love it. Okay, is it my turn? Did you fake and know that, I don't know if you knew this, but I didn't know it, that bananas are berries, but strawberries are not? I know. Now, don't ask me to go into why, but you can Google it.
Okay, I was going to ask you why, but I won't.
Don't even
the
ask me. It has
listeners.
to do with ovaries and things like that. So
Okay, so Christine, thanks for sharing your survey and sharing the fact that we're all struggling. It's just what we do, right?
yep.
So we will see you all back here in a couple weeks when we start really digging into the emotional and internal wreckage that is left that you may not even realize is from the relationship that you may have experienced. You hear me talk about the effort it takes to just keep faking it. If you want to stop this feeling of treading water and are ready for a change, my most comprehensive program is for you. I offer Freedom Me, my exclusive 5-month private one-on-one guidance program. This isn't a quick fix. In fact, we're not fixing anything because there's nothing wrong with you. Rather, this program is created for you to understand yourself, accept yourself, and it gives you control over what has felt so out of control for years because of your past. It's a dedicated partnership with weekly calls, interaction between calls, and access to the exclusive private support group. We address the toxic teardown head on, giving you the time and support that has been difficult to find. If you're ready for sustained focus and a clear path, you can apply to become an exclusive Freedom Me client at coachingwithdrheidi.com.